It's called the weave, a seemingly chaotic blend of proposals, ideas, and promises one after another. President Donald Trump describes it as brilliance in motion, connecting multiple disjointed thoughts to create a grand, cohesive narrative. But as he weaves through policies from housing to interest rates, from credit card companies to oil drilling, the questions linger. Is this real change or just another set of bold claims? The weave might sound like an economic miracle in the making, but can this whirlwind of ideas really bring affordability to the average American? Can sweeping declarations, often lacking the details we need, create lasting solutions, or will they simply unravel under scrutiny? Let's dive into this tangled web of Trump's economic vision and try to understand the forces behind these ambitious promises. How do they connect, and what might they really mean for the future? Let's see if we can untangle the truth. The cost of living is one of the most pressing concerns for Americans today. Yet for President Trump, the issue isn't what it seems. He's publicly dismissed the term affordability as a fake concept coined by the Democrats. For Trump, the problem isn't rising prices or the pressure it puts on the average citizen, it's the narrative surrounding it. According to him, the solution isn't complicated. More action, more policy changes, and a little bit of the weave to pull it all together. But the reality is much messier. As he jumps from one proposal to another, from banning institutional investors in housing to pressuring oil companies to drill in Venezuela, there's a lack of clear strategy. The sheer speed of the announcements leaves little time for the public or even lawmakers to fully grasp the implications. What's being promised sounds big, but can Trump's whirlwind of ideas actually address the deep economic challenges we face, or is it just an exercise in media sound bites? To understand the full scope of Trump's economic proposals, we must first recognize the larger context, the forces shaping the economy, and the cyclical patterns that have defined U.S. policy for decades. Trump's approach isn't entirely new. Rather, it's part of a broader trend of populist policies designed to address inequality, disrupt established systems, and promise a rapid return to economic prosperity. Historically, the U.S. economy has experienced cyclical booms and busts. These cycles often follow patterns where, after periods of growth, the cost of living rises, wages stagnate, and political figures propose solutions to address these disparities. Trump's proposals, however, stand out in their unpredictability and their reliance on quick fixes, much like his weave strategy. But the real question is whether these quick fixes will address the deeper systemic issues like wage stagnation, wealth inequality, and the increasing concentration of power in corporate hands that have plagued the economy for years. One of the first bold steps in Trump's economic plan is tackling the housing market. He recently announced a proposal to ban institutional investors from purchasing single-family homes, claiming it would make housing more affordable. But what does this really mean? While the idea of reducing competition from large investors might sound appealing, the complexities of the housing market go much deeper. The reality is that the housing crisis isn't just about who owns the homes, it's about a lack of supply, rising material costs, and stagnant wages. Trump's sudden sweeping ban may appear like a quick solution, but without addressing these underlying issues, how effective will it be? Moreover, can this move withstand the potential legal challenges it faces from powerful corporate players? The weave is on display again. Trump makes a bold claim, but without clarity or a full understanding of the consequences. And this raises the most important question: will these dramatic proposals truly create change, or is this just another political spectacle? At the heart of Trump's economic proposals is a hidden mechanism, a belief that if you simply alter the surface-level elements of the system, you can change the whole structure beneath it. Whether it's lowering interest rates through executive pressure or manipulating oil production by coercing companies into drilling in Venezuela, these ideas ignore the underlying economic systems that have created today's challenges. What Trump misses is that these quick fixes rarely address the root causes. Housing affordability, for example, isn't just about reducing corporate investment in single-family homes. It's about long-term planning, investment in infrastructure, and addressing zoning laws that restrict housing development. Similarly, his fixation on interest rates or oil production may bring short-term relief, but they don't solve the larger issue of economic inequality and the concentration of wealth and power in a few hands. Trump's economic weave might seem like a collection of brilliant ideas on the surface, but when you dig deeper, they often fail to grasp the complex, interconnected mechanisms that drive the economy. The question is whether these surface-level changes can truly make a difference in the long run, or if they're simply band-aid solutions that will unravel over time. Trump's economic weave takes another sharp turn with his proposal to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. On the surface, it sounds like a win for the everyday American, offering relief to those burdened by high-interest debt. However, the consequences of such a move could be far more complicated. While lower interest rates might save consumers billions, the reality is that credit card companies could react in ways that hurt the very people the proposal aims to help. If profit margins are squeezed, these companies may limit credit access, raise fees, or even cut back on rewards programs, leaving many consumers with less flexibility and fewer benefits than before. This is the risk with many of Trump's proposals. They are reactive, and often their true effects don't surface until much later. In trying to fix one issue, Trump's plan might unintentionally create new problems. Yet, just as with the other parts of his weave, the focus remains on bold claims and quick fixes rather than the deeper structural reforms needed to address the core issues facing Americans. For the American people, these proposals might seem like a lifeline. The promise of lower housing costs, reduced credit card interest, and cheaper gas could alleviate some of the everyday burdens. But behind the promises lies the question, how much of this will actually reach the people who need it the most? Take Trump's recent push for oil drilling in Venezuela, for example. While it may sound like a straightforward way to reduce gas prices, the reality is more complicated. The people who will truly benefit from these lower prices are often not the struggling middle class, but large corporations and the wealthiest individuals who control the energy sector. It's easy to feel hopeful when someone in power promises change, but the truth is that many of these proposals are focused on quick wins for political gain, not on lasting, meaningful reform for the average American. And as we've seen before, those who are already struggling the most may be left behind in the rush for solutions that don't fully address their needs. If you're tired of feeling like the system isn't working for you, it's time to ask who truly benefits from these promises. While Trump's economic proposals are aimed at solving domestic issues, the ripple effects are felt across the globe. His recent moves to influence oil production in Venezuela, for example, could have significant geopolitical consequences. Encouraging more oil drilling in a country with a history of political instability is a risky gamble, not just for Venezuela, but for the entire global oil market. Such decisions aren't made in isolation. They affect relationships between nations, global trade flows, and international security. Trump's actions may push the U.S. into deeper entanglements with foreign governments, while also impacting the broader market forces that shape everything from gas prices to supply chains. The interconnected nature of the global economy means that Trump's economic weave may spark unintended consequences far beyond U.S. borders. What happens in Venezuela, for instance, could send shockwaves across energy markets, trade relations, and even diplomatic ties with other nations. And while the focus remains on the domestic economy, the global ripple effects must not be ignored. Looking ahead, we can imagine three possible scenarios for the future of Trump's economic vision. Each is shaped by the interplay of his policies and the deep-rooted issues they fail to address. The optimistic scenario: positive change. In the best-case scenario, some of Trump's proposals spark real, tangible change. Lower interest rates, a more affordable housing market, and a reduction in energy costs might provide relief for Americans. However, this success would require a rare alignment of factors: political cooperation, successful implementation, and most importantly, a deeper understanding of the systemic changes needed for long-term sustainability. The middle ground: short-term relief, long-term challenges. A more likely outcome is that some policies provide temporary relief but fail to address the underlying issues of economic inequality, job insecurity, and wage stagnation. Trump's weave may generate some short-term wins, but without systemic reforms, these victories will be fleeting and may unravel as quickly as they appeared. The pessimistic scenario: unintended consequences. In the worst-case scenario, Trump's quick fixes lead to greater instability, whether in the form of economic collapse, legal challenges, or global backlash. The lack of coherent strategy may leave Americans feeling disillusioned, and the global economy could face even greater uncertainty. Whatever happens, one thing is clear: the future is uncertain, and the consequences of these policies will unfold over time. As we wrap up this analysis, one thing stands out: Trump's economic proposals, while bold and brash, are ultimately more about spectacle than substance. His weave might catch our attention, but it's important to question whether these quick fixes can truly address the complex issues at the heart of America's economic struggles. What's clear is that many of his ideas are rooted in a desire for immediate action, but lack the long-term vision necessary for meaningful change. And while the promises are appealing, the true impact of these proposals will only become apparent as they unfold and likely unravel in the months and years to come. Now, the real question is, will these ideas turn into something more substantial, or will they fade away as political rhetoric often does? As we watch this drama unfold, it's up to all of us to stay informed, hold our leaders accountable, and demand policies that not only promise change but deliver it. If you're ready to see beyond the spectacle, take a closer look at what's really being offered. The future of America's economy is at stake.